The Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, kinda power. I love the power. I love the power.
Hi guys, I am Macca19 and this is the Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast coming to you live once again on Port Fan Radio. And joining me as co-host, as usual, we got Fishing Rick. How are you, mate?
Hey, Macca!
What's going on?
Winners are gritters.
They certainly are.
Happy days.
This will be a much more enjoyable podcast this week than it was the last few weeks, that's for sure.
Oh, thank Christ for that. It's getting
Thank God
morbid.
for that. That's it. Now look, back on the podcast once again, we've got Dylan 8. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you guys going?
Good, very good.
Yes.
Yep, it's probably the first time I've come on after a win. It never seems to happen. I always hit the form slumps, so the curse is shattered.
Have you been on before?
Jeez, Rick.
When did you come on last?
Last time
About
I
3
came
weeks
on,
ago.
Yeah, you went around.
Yeah.
We had Harold Oliver filling in for you, so
Yeah,
it was a great time without you.
See, I wasn't there, Macca. That's why.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, let's get straight into it, boys, and talk about our love and our hate for this week. Rick, do you want to start us off, mate?
Yeah, for sure. What did I love? I loved many things this weekend, but I think I loved the most that we had more composure, Macca, which I'm sure we'll talk about in detail, so I won't go on about it too much more, but instead of running around like headless chooks, we used the ball properly in that second half of the game. So I was very, very happy with that. And my hate, I'm going to go the traditional biased supporter, and I didn't really like the umpiring at all. I thought they started the game pretty poorly by the standard, which was very, very soft with their free kicks. For example, the Jay Schultz free kicks, which I know you can argue was there. I'm not disagreeing with that. But, I mean, you see that stuff get let go all the time, and but they set the standard. And obviously, as the game wore on, that standard seemed to be more towards Melbourne as a team than it did Port Adelaide. So, like the Bernie Finch sling, where he dropped the ball, got a free kick, 2 minutes later, Ollie Wines doesn't even have the ball, gets slung out of the pack, no free kick. Angus Momfries gets pushed in the back, no free kick. And I could just go on and on. So the umpiring sucked.
It's a bit girly, mate. I think you could probably come up with something a bit harder than that.
Jeez. On the flip, though, that blocking a marking contest rule was finally paid for us. We actually got a free kick out of that new rule. That's the first time I've seen it paid outside of against us. So, no, it was good to see that paid for Jay. Got a goal out of that.
That's right.
Which one was that? The blocking?
There was about 5 guys around the ball. You know the rule that they introduced this year?
Yeah.
Where if you're
in the second
blocking
quarter,
a mark, something like that. If you're blocking a mark, then you get penalised, something like that.
Yeah.
Or
So that's 1-4 and about 10 against, so
Yeah.
bit of catching up to do, but a good start.
And that's
Rock
11 paid in total across the league. No one else seems to get that rule to our games.
Very true. Well, Dylan, what was your love and hate, mate?
I loved a lot. There was a lot to love about this week, as opposed to the absolute rubbish it's been the last few weeks. So, I think I'll go with the Carl Amon goal. The real steadier and a real lifter, I think, because it was such a hard shot, and for it's his first full game, to nail that from that ridiculous angle and a set shot, that was huge by him.
Yeah, agree with that. It was a ripper goal, and certainly got us started, which was fantastic. And I think I've spoken about Carl Amon a million times on this podcast. I love him. I reckon he's going to be a great player.
Yep. Yeah, and Janus was talking about the lead up to the goal as well, which was how composed we were with the ball. As you said, Rick, just composed. Instead of bombing it into the 50 to a flooded back line, we just chipped it around, and then found Kyle. it was good. Yeah, it's good to see. My hate, not a lot to hate. Probably just say the first quarter. Was reminiscent of the last few weeks. Just looked like we were going to lose again. I was pretty pessimistic after that, but I'm glad we managed to turn it around because we were definitely up shit creek again.
It was looking grim. I was texting Macca going, "Oh my god, that 8-goal prediction's looking pretty true." I wasn't very happy that I was going to be right. So yeah, it wasn't.
Did you pick Melbourne in your tips?
Yeah, I did actually.
Oh,
you got to
that's all right.
Get onto the forum and start point scoring about it and saying how good it was, how you picked the loss, like a certain few.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up being wrong, so
happy days.
Yeah. So I'm glad to be wrong. So they actually kicked into gear sooner than what I expected. I thought we'd come home with a wet sail, lose, but bring in the momentum for this week against the Bulldogs. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well, look, my love this week was just the way we completely dismantled Melbourne in that second half. You know, I thought it was a masterclass from top to bottom. You know, the midfield was winning clearance after clearance. You know, we're getting it into the forward line really quick. And I thought it was quite a cohesive forward line. Lots of diverse options dominating. You know, Tolls were taking marks. Smalls were kicking goals. It was fantastic. And I thought the coaching moves made down back work to treat as well. And look, I think for the first time this year, the coaches delivered, and it was really the coaching moves that won us the game.
Yep, no bump for the Voss thread this week. I haven't seen, so the coaches must be doing something all right.
That's it.
Totally agree with that. And you're right about the defence. And how good was Jack Homsch? Again, definitely up there in the BNF this year.
He's a star. I think he's coming second in my votes that I do after each game. So he's had a monster year.
Yeah, you'd probably pick Robbie Gray for miles ahead, and then Homsch and Pittard.
Yep.
Hopshy, what a legend.
Camo Shea.
Oh, Camo Shea. Hey, I joke around about that, but I actually love Camo Shea as a player.
I do too.
He's just in not the best form at this point in time.
I like the Oshizzy. Give him the finals MVP, I reckon.
The finals MVP.
Yeah. Tip him for the Norm Smith when he gets back in the team every year.
Absolutely. I've got a Camo Shea match-worn Guernsey. I just wish I could fit in it. Basically.
Not a skinny, tall, lanky bloke.
Remember when I posted up how I tried to fit into Jackson's match-worn top, and I got a nasty text message back going, "You're stretching good gear, man." I got the message.
That's it. Very true. Look, my hate this week was fading against Glenelg. I had to search for a hate this week. There wasn't much to hate, but yeah, fading against Glenelg. Would have loved to have smashed them. That's all I can pretty much think of this week. You know, we were 43 points up at half-time. We kept them scoreless in the first quarter. I think many were thinking it was going to be another 100-point thrashing to the Bays, but they fought back and it was being probably too close for comfort in the end.
Yeah, you know you're really scraping the bottom when it's a win over Glenelg as you hate. Basically.
Absolutely.
So was it? I was just going to say, was there a good crowd there for the game, for the celebration and everything?
No, not really.
No. That's a bit shameful. All right. Anyway, I cut you off, so on your way.
That's all right. I was just going to go straight into the review of the AFL game this week.
Do it.
So it was round 9, and Port played Melbourne on Saturday in Alice Springs and came away with a pretty dominant 61-point win, 18 goals 7 to 8 goals 6. Schulze back in form with 4 goals. Gus Monfrey slotted 3 in his 200th game, played an absolute ripper. And Westhoff and Wingard kicked 2 each as well. It wasn't all smooth sailing, so I figure we might as well talk about the first sort of 30 or 40 minutes of the game to start with, where we were 24 points down, not looking great at all. What was going wrong in that first half?
Everything. We weren't winning the ball, especially in the first quarter and a half. The commentators were banging on about the discrepancy in contested possession around the pack, and it was just really clear. And because we weren't winning any of the contests, the boys just looked really slow and flat-footed, second to the ball. And I don't know about you guys, as we were joking around earlier, it was looking pretty bloody grim, I thought.
Wasn't looking great, that's for sure. I was quite concerned when they started piling on the goals in the second quarter. I thought, oh, here we go again. And I guess it was one of those games where you could almost tell from the start that we weren't switched on. I mean, what was it, about 2 minutes into the game and Justin Westhoff has the ball and starts finger pointing whilst he's running about 45 metres and gets called for running too far. And, Jay Schultz giving away the free kick on the goal line and all that sort of stuff. You just thought, today's not going to be our day.
I just got to say, I really disagreed with that Westhoff run too far. I reckon the umpire paid it on time more than actually running, because it didn't look like he ran more than 15 metres to me.
No, I reckon he ran about 25.
You reckon?
Yeah.
No.
He took quite a few steps.
I got a message from... Sorry, Dylan, I'll just say this quickly. Sent me a message privately saying that the reason we were so woeful in the first quarter and a bit was because we were soft cobras. I'm not actually going to use that word out. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I thought the Cobra was all right in his week back. So
yeah,
he was.
That's good. We were probably quite soft though in that first sort of quarter and a half, and it just looked like one of those days. I mean, we were getting thumped in the middle. Our forward line was an absolute mess. Our defence was turning it over again. There was no run, there was no composure, there was no contested game. I mean, it just looked like an absolute mess.
Yeah, and I really wasn't confident about this game because, obviously last year we struggled against Melbourne as well. Paul Roos just seems to, know how to beat our fast attacking footy with his... Well, there's been enough said about his footy, so I thought, yep, it's happening again. Free kicks going against us. That Schultz one, obviously, then Lumumba kicking goals and celebrating the way he was. I was preparing for the worst, really. But yeah, credit to the guys for turning it around.
Well, I don't reckon Melbourne flooded the pack as badly as what they did last year at the contest around the ball. That was really what started our demise. Teams just flooding that condensed area, and they did leave it a little bit open. But we really just struggled with transitioning and any general play, even blocking, team play. It just seemed we were second to everything, and it was looking woeful. But you could sort of see after they got to that 38-14 point margin, we did start to arrest control back in the game, and even though it wasn't reflective on the scoreboard, we were starting to get the possessions back in line, and you could see a bit of a momentum shift in the game.
Yeah.
I think their structures sort of fell apart a little bit after we got the run on. I think they sort of panicked or lost their way. And of course, we started using the ball a lot better and a lot more composed. I think they weren't really expecting us to get our act together in that sense. And so that helped a whole lot.
Yep.
And you can see they were fighting. I mean, that prime example where Schultz got that free kick, there was 5 guys around him in Melbourne jumpers. I mean, he was lucky to get the free because of that rule. But they were all around it.
Any tweets, Macca?
There is a couple from good old Crazy Big Al. I'll just bring up Twitter once again. He said we were soft campaigners. He also says Rick admits he was wrong. Wonders never cease. Which is very true.
I've got to say it's not very often. Because normally, if I don't know the answer, I'll keep my mouth shut. So that's reduces the odds.
Fake it till you make it, Rick.
That's exactly right. But yes, I was wrong. Anyway, we can continue on.
Well, look, why can't we get motivated when teams put us under pressure, like what happened in that first quarter?
Were we not motivated though? Do you think it wasn't?
I don't think so. I thought we were playing pretty slow and
Soft?
Boring football. Oh, no, I'm not necessarily soft. I just think we were playing boring football. You know, we were just chipping it around. There was no interest. No one was running. No one was leading. There was no creativity
is that
there.
Motivation, or is that a fitness thing or a tactical thing, trying to preserve energy maybe? I don't know if it's
I
motivation.
just think we look sluggish. We look really sluggish and just like void of any sort of options.
That's been a consistent theme in our slump, though, and a lot of questions have been raised about the fitness and if it's gone too far this year.
Well, it was highlighted in the commentary through the second quarter before we made our charge, how all the Port boys had their hands on their head and were sucking in the big ones, and comparing it to previous season where we didn't have that issue at all. And so it was starting to make people wonder: is there a fitness issue with the through the commentators? But then we seemed to find our run. So who knows? I just think we were flat-footed. I don't know if it was. I don't think you could be an AFL player and unmotivated.
Yeah,
I mean, how could you be unmotivated for this game? Coming in with 3 losses, finals on the line, maybe they were overstimulated, Macca. Maybe it was the opposite. Maybe there was too much pressure they were placing on themselves to the point where it was actually restricting their creative game style.
I think the heat and the sort of location would have compounded the. If you suggest there's a fitness problem, then it would have probably compounded it. I mean, you can see by the end of the game how absolutely knackered everybody was. That heartless free kicking goal at the end of the game just sort of showed it when McDonald wasn't even moving. Hartley just lays the laziest tackle and still gets the hold and the ball free.
Yeah.
You could tell how absolutely knackered they were.
I wonder what the listeners out there are thinking, because there is a few people out listening. So tweet in or call us or Facebook us what you think was going on with the boys in that first half. But the thing that I really noticed, which started to create our turnaround, boys, was not the fact that we stopped playing girly, but the fact that from our defensive 50, instead of just playing on at all costs or kicking it to a person who didn't then instantly played on at all costs, we actually were a little bit more patient with the ball. And so we chipped the ball around, even with the transition, when the transition was blocked, we chipped it around a little bit slower until we hit a player that was free. And then that player then took off. So we, instead of trying to make things happen, we waited until we were in a position for it to happen. And by doing that, it also allowed our forwards, once we retained or attained possession, to get forward of the kickers properly, which allowed us to have some sort of forward structure. So I think the boys just relaxed, and instead of trying too hard, actually just played how they know how to play, and then it all came to them.
I think it is
It did seem to just click.
It's got to be a game plan change. Someone said that, I wasn't listening, but someone said Ollie Wines said on 5AA this afternoon that they were practicing a different game plan over the pre-season, and he thinks it's starting to click. And you can probably see that in the way that it was pulled off today, that the kicks aren't as long, it's more chippy, and you can see it against Fremantle in round 1. And that was the sort of second game plan we're trying to play, or the plan B. I think maybe we're trying to actually pull it off now, and we actually are pulling it off, even if it has taken us that many rounds.
Porsche tweeted in, "Hey Porsche, thanks for listening. Neil Craig had 2 good years as head fitness coach at the Crows before they went to Pooh. Is it a common thing for a given regime, perhaps?"
Probably not, because Andrew Russell has had Hawthorn up the top in terms of fitness for probably a decade now. So.
But when did he leave? 2004?
2004, yep.
So did he have a bit of a drop in performance in the short term over at Hawthorn? I guess.
Did I tell when they were playing absolutely garbage and basically tanky? Yeah. You couldn't really be able to tell. But if he's still around and he's still working with the back-to-back premiership team, you'd think he's probably doing all right.
He's probably, this is off Port, I was just going to say, he's probably one of the most underrated off field support people going around in the game.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of press about him, really, do you? But
No.
I think he's done wonders for Hawthorn.
You don't really hear about fitness guys, though, unless it is a Burgess, who he's probably the highest profile guy, except for, it was a Dean Robinson.
Yeah.
Burgess is probably the highest profile guy out there.
True. We've had a few other tweets. Bevan's tweeted in his love and hate, which is his love is the passion of Chad and beating Paul Roos for the first time in a while. And his hate was his blood pressure in the first quarter. Got to agree with that. Scott has also tweeted in and said that he had the club song on his phone since the showdown. He deleted it in the second quarter, and we never looked back. So hashtag no club song on phone, which is also true. And Elaine has tweeted in and said surely the heat and the hard ground had an effect on Saturday.
Yeah. Was it that hot, though? I mean, they said it was 24 degrees. Surely, I'd imagine the boys would rather play in that than up in Darwin in the humidity.
True.
But I guess it is a little bit different to what we're playing down in here. So
Yeah.
this is a Thursday night discussion, but hopefully it doesn't affect us for Saturday.
I think we should be right. Look, let's talk about the second half. Obviously, halfway through that second quarter, things started to click. We won a few clearances, got some frees up forward. Suddenly the game changed and was played on our terms, and we didn't really relent for the rest of the game. I mentioned with my love that our coaching moves, and I really do think that the coaches had a massive part to play in us winning this match. What were some of the coaching moves that you liked, Rick?
Well, one I liked was getting Carlisle off of Hogan, because Bobby must still be carrying some sort of injury. He was fantastic pre-injury and probably the informed defender. And I remember we were talking about him actually being not recognised in the media for his defensive roles. And since he's come back...
To be fair, Jack Frost was absolutely tearing up Joe Danaher and other assorted 20-game KPFs.
Matt Taverner and the like.
But I guess not to be recognised in that group, though, was probably a bit poor by media experts. But anyway, coming back from injury, he's seems a little bit slower. He's trailing in behind those key forwards quite a bit and not actually getting the spoil in like he was before injury. So I do think that maybe Alapate is carrying something. So getting him off of Hogan and putting Homch that went on to him was a fantastic move.
Absolutely.
Really
look, I thought Carlisle did a great job after he went off of Hogan. He went to Cam Peterson and completely shut him out, and he was someone that was tearing us apart as well in that sort of first quarter and a half. And I think both those moves changed the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess the other one would have been Boak on Nate Jones, the obvious one that Ken Hinkley pointed out post-game, which was quite interesting because he said he never, doesn't like to isolate individual players. And I thought you were quite controversial with your top five, with your comments. You thought he was deplorable in the first half, Macca.
I did. I thought he was really poor in the first quarter and a half, and I thought that was probably the worst sort of quarter of footy I've ever seen by Travis Boak. But, I did say but, his second half was probably better than anyone else's on the field. So, he certainly made up for it, but just missed out on my top five. Because there was better four quarter players, I thought, on the field.
And that's important. But, so they were... And, I mean, he did a great job on chopping out Nate Jones, though, who always does pretty well against us. So, though I thought they were two of the key matchups. And moving Brad Ebert into the midfield, which seems strange, doesn't it, putting Brad Ebert in the midfield? Who would do that? Jeez, that's amazing.
Well, he doesn't often play as a centre square midfielder, Brad Ebert. So it was interesting to see him play there and pick up so many clearances. That was going to be one of my questions that I'll ask later. So I might keep it for that. But a couple of the other moves I thought helped change the game was Pittard and then Jonas went on to a Garlett. Impey moved off him, and Garlett was sort of kicking quite a few goals there for a while, and I thought Jonas did a great job in shutting him out, and Impey ended up going to Tumpus, who was beating Pittard at the time as well, and I thought both those changes helped change the game too.
Can I just talk quickly about one of that matchup with Pittard and Garlett, where Garlett kicked that second goal where he ran into goal. I thought Al was very unfair on Pittard with that passage of play because Jasper was sort of stuck there waiting for the ball flat-footed, and Garlett Garlett came at full pace. So unless Jasper got a great bounce, which he didn't, he was never going to be able to beat Garlett, who was coming in at full pace. And so on the surface, you blame Pittard for letting Garlett run into an open goal, but really it was the defender in Tom Jonas not blocking and protecting Pittard, which resulted in Garlett getting the ball and then running into the open goal. So, Al, I thought you were pretty unfair and very critical of Jasper for that passage of play.
The Jasper Pittard Defence Force has arrived.
Yes, that's exactly right. Don't mess with Jasper.
I'm sure Schultz and Fest would love a word about you bad-mouthing Tom Jonas, though.
Well, I'm not bad-mouthing Tom Jonas. I just thought he was a bit lazy there. That's all.
Fair enough.
Completely different.
Well, look, the game was played on our terms after that, and we never looked back. I think we kicked 16 out of 18 goals, and completely dominated the second half. And who were some of your best players?
Deal?
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty hard to single him out. You think Robbie Gray was around the mark again. His highlights package was pretty much standard for him these days. But there was that great shot of him running down the wing with the ball in one hand and him waving it around and pointing his finger before just laying it off with an absolute ripper 40-metre pass to the chest of Matt White who kicked the goal. So the stuff he does, and that handball to Paul Stewart all on the ground, it's incredible the stuff he does. I mean, if Fife wasn't already so far ahead in the Brownlow, it would be Robbie Grace to take. He's just that good. Yeah,
I think he's definitely the most attractive footballer in the league at the moment, both in terms of the fact that he's a sexy beast, but also just the way that he plays football is just incredible. I mean, the things he does. I mean, just the takeaway clearances that he has with complete regularity, the insane skills, the fact he can pinpoint passes, like he did with that one-handed sort of showboating stuff. I mean, it's just incredible. I think he's probably, it's probably only Nat Fyfe is better than him in the league at the moment, you'd have to say.
Yeah, with Gary Ablett out, surely. And, you see how good he's going. You think, I reckon Hamish Hartlett has about as much talent as him. Natural football talent, and
no doubt.
And I don't know. So watching him is a bit disappointing when you think how good it could be if he was living up to his full potential.
Yeah.
In midfield with Robbie Gray in tandem.
Yeah, but Hamish doesn't get that much midfield time. I think that's part of the problem. But I mean, when you look a bit deeper into his game, his stats weren't as horrendous as what we all think. It's just that, I don't know. I think we spoke about this not long ago, Macca. It's just, I don't know. For some reason, he's unassuming, but he got 20 disposals, 9 tackles.
He gets his 20 touches every week, but it doesn't hurt too much.
I thought he was better this week than he has been in previous weeks. It's probably the best game he's played since the Hawks game.
He's found his kick again a little bit. He's been kicking it a bit better this week.
But he's still delivered quite a few sort of shanks as well. But I don't know. I almost think he tries to kick it too hard sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Does he have a really good kick, or does he just have a very long kick? But I do think he does have a very good kick.
I think he's got a very good kick. I think sometimes he just tries to kick it too low and too hard, and ends up sort of being a bit of a worm burner.
No, he's good. He's a perplexing player. It becomes quite the conundrum, Macca.
That is a conundrum.
What do we do? Do we look at him as a trade material, or is he someone that we just persevere with?
The issue is, I think that if we do ever make a grand final, he's the sort of player that will have 28 touches and kick 4 goals and be best on ground sort of thing. Kind of like Choppy Pickett was.
He was very good. He was very good in the final series last year as well.
Yeah.
He was just about best on against Fremantle. Did a lot of good stuff against Richmond, but everyone did.
So what did you guys...
There's a lot of positives towards trading Hamish Hartlett for maybe a ready-made sort of key forward or someone like that could change a game. But it's kind of the whole trade him at your peril because you know that it'll possibly bite you on the bum.
Oh, well, here's a scenario for you, right? You've got West Coast with an oversupply of tools, and they came knocking on your door and said, "We like Hamish Hartlett. We'll give you Darling."
You'd, jeez. In terms of structure, you'd probably do that, but I don't know. It's it would be a tough call to make.
We could talk about this forever though, and it has been debated to death, hasn't it?
Just putting
it
it
out
Rick? I'm getting told to stop talking crap. I've got Al's fired up and angry tonight. Look, I thought Travis Boak, I'd give him best on the ground. I'm not as judgmental and hard as you are, Macca, but that's why you're the expert and get the written kudos that you do. Your views are better than ours. So, but I thought he was up there. Homch, I thought had a great game. I really did, and and Catherine's just tweeted in saying that he was up there as well. And I've got to agree with that. I mean, we forget about the key defenders sometimes and the influence that they have. I would have gone Boak, Homch, Robbie Gray, and Brad Ebert, and then I probably would have gone Jay Shields for his forward presence and his goal kicking. Obviously, the painkillers weren't being used this week, and no numb foot, and all good. And interesting that Portia is with me. Thanks, Portia. I miss you on Big Footy. You need to come back because she said darling before they finished the sentence.
It's a good call. It's an interesting trade scenario, that one.
It is. Might have to say
much better than your talk about Lobie being worse than Warnock. But we'll leave that one for another day.
Now you're putting words into my
mouth. Portia would trade half the list though, if she could. So
this is true.
And
Al, ask about it with her radical trade views.
And Al, it's not a useless or irrelevant topic. It's actually a relevant topic because Hamish Hartlett is one of those bipolar players in the spectator's eyes where some people want to keep him and think he's great and others think that he's not as good and potentially he holds good tradable value, and that's just the modern world of football.
Yep.
I like the props for Jack Homch though. Just getting back to the game because he was probably our only actual performer in the first quarter when everyone was shitting the bed. He was a real presence and sort of held up down back, and even when he gets up on the wing, he's such a good user of the ball too. Like he's such a good rebounder. So I think how did GWS manage to get rid of this guy?
I mean that's the sort of trade that wins your premiership.
He's so composed. He's so defensively perfect. He's so good at getting the fist on the ball and shutting the bloke down. You move him onto their most dangerous forward. He's basically our default option now for the best forward.
Yeah.
Because he's got the athleticism and he's got the power to go with him. But he can also rebound. Yeah. I couldn't stop singing this guy's praise.
And it's not me typing for the record, Macca.
Sure.
I promise. Yeah, well, he's our best key defender at this point in time, isn't he? On form.
Yeah.
So... which does, and I'll just pose this, I don't expect an answer, but I think it's something that might come up over the next few weeks. Are we able to carry maybe Jackson and Alapate both as key defenders? Is really Jackson maybe the next fullback to take over from Alapate? And it's just something that I'm starting to mull over, but I'm sure once we're fit and firing in full form, that question will just disappear into the ether.
Well, how'd you guys see Cleary's game? Because I didn't really notice him a lot, to be honest. I
thought he was really good.
Yeah, I thought he was good, but I didn't see him a lot. But he was playing. Who was he playing on? I just can't even remember. Was it Dunn? Was it Lyndon Dunn?
No, Dunn was playing a fullback. He played pretty much the whole game on Jeremy Howe and kept Howe almost kickless for a very, very long time. And Jeremy Howe's a player that can tear you apart if you give him sort of half a chance. But I think he only had something like one handball to half time. So Cleary defensively absolutely tore him to shreds. I guess the issue with Cleary is that he'll need to find some sort of attacking part of his game, and I thought his skills were pretty good, but probably could have rebounded a bit more when he got it. I thought he was a little bit stagnant sometimes, but it's only his second game, and he'll get used to the pace of the game at some point. But I thought he was very impressive, very impressive. That's
exactly right, Macca. He's probably a little bit in his shell as a defender to be running off too far from players, and that's probably what held him back. Unlike bloody Homch, who just gets the ball and goes, I'm going. And I think that's what's amazing about him, isn't it? He just doesn't care. I'm going to break every tackle that's in front of me and I'm just going to run like a madman and when he takes the ball. But I liked Cleary. I thought he showed a lot of composure and took a few marks and distributed the ball well. And look, I think the more games he plays, it's a bit like this whole Sam Gray conversation, isn't it? The more games they play, the more composure they've got, and then it goes from there. I guess the thing that I noticed with Sam Gray, if we just switch to him quickly, is that with Sammy, I did notice this week, I thought I cut him some slack last week, and for one, I'm not actually advocating I want him out of the side just yet, but I did notice that he did get caught with the ball quite often. So he does seem to lack that half a second that your quality players like Travis and Robbie and all those top-end players have at this game. And so I think that if he's going to save his career, he needs to find himself that extra half a second.
Look, I don't mean to sound too harsh, but I don't really want Sam Gray on the list next year. I don't think he's really got that upside at all. I don't think it's worth really persevering with. I think maybe when Pollock comes back,
it's really hard to say.
When Pollock comes back, he'll probably take his spot. I'd rather we just keep playing guys like Carl Amon or Aaron Young, who actually, have got heaps of upside and they actually fit in at AFL level. And of course, there's Andrew Moore as well. I don't see where Sam Gray is in our future, and him getting games is sort of. I don't really like it. To be a bit harsh. Yeah.
So it's hard to say with Sam Gray because I think back to when we picked up Josh Marnie, and I thought, why the hell would we pick up Josh Marnie? Ended up, having quite a large part to play in a premiership, and I think Sammy Gray's probably quite a similar sort of player in that you think, on face value, you think, well, is he really going to make it at this level? And your first thought is probably not, but you never know. You do never know, and I thought that was probably his best game for a long time at AFL level. I thought late in the piece he probably struggled a little bit with the pace of the game, and he was making some silly errors. And as you said, Dylan, I think if he can just, if he can get his head right in terms of knowing when to dish off the ball, I think he could be a pretty decent player at this level. Whether he gets that chance or not, I'm not too sure.
Sort of noticed that he burns the ball a lot. There was a couple of kicks going inside 50 that just got nowhere near the target.
Yeah. His first half I thought was fantastic. His second half was a bit poor. But
he did get a lot of
baby
the ball.
Baby steps.
He's a weird one because we sort of play him as a forward, but he's more of a midfielder, isn't it? At SANFL level, he's a real inside sort of beast, but he doesn't really have the physicality for it at AFL level.
Did you make comment on Andrew Moore as well, Dylan?
I didn't mention him, but he is worth mentioning.
Only because Portia said, agree with Dylan on Moore and Sam Gray. Does he favour losing half the list?
I didn't mention
I think
Moore.
She's having a swipe at
I think that's a bit of a bite back. Yeah, I love it. Fire up, Portia.
That's it, Portia.
Just Sammy Gray. I'm only cutting one from the rookie list. All right, I'm not trading our prime movers.
Well, talking about rookie listers, and I don't think Andrew Moore's a prime mover just yet, but Al also tweeted in earlier and asked the question about Nathan Cracker. Does he have to go back to the rookie list this week with Frampton coming back?
On face value, I would think that would be a yes. but whether they can make a deal similar to what St Kilda did, where Sam Gray goes back onto the rookie list and Cracker takes Polek's spot, that could be a possibility.
I was going to say that could have been a bit of a backfire for us, elevating Sam Gray, couldn't it? If it's going to hold Cracker from staying on the list.
Not if they considered Sam Gray to be, worthy of a spot in the side, which they obviously did.
Yeah.
Look, I want to do something which Ant Bear on Big Footy did in the review thread, which was list 22 questions. I don't have 22 questions, but I've listed some of his main ones here. Just a handful of his main ones and a couple of others as well, because I reckon this is a great idea. The first question I've got is, was that the best game Brad Ebert has played for Port Adelaide?
No. Sydney last year.
Yeah.
I reckon this was better than the Sydney game.
No, I reckon he had a couple of better crackers last year.
That was against better opposition, away, shut down Josh Kennedy, got 40 touches. That was, I'm not even up for debate.
I reckon there was a couple other ones too, Dylan. I'm with you with the Sydney one, but I reckon there was a few others last year because he must have been injured after that Sydney game because his performance went right down. But the first 11 games, he was just on fire. So
and before Robbie Gray was really hitting his straps, it was all Brad Ebert BNF talk. Everyone was really getting around him.
Yeah,
no,
he had a big start to the year.
That's just an outrageous question. Next.
Next question. The injury to Ryder meant that we went back to our 2014 structure. Is there something in that performance, or is it a bit of a correlation-causation fallacy?
Correlation-causation. You could look at last week and the way we had no forward structure, and you could point out the same thing last year. I don't think it's right. I think it's the coaches sort of adjusting to setting them up and actually having more than two tall forwards to work with. And Westhoff's a weird one because he's not really a traditional key forward. But I guess neither is Ryder. I think the coaches just have to sort it out because they've never had anyone other than just Jay Schultz as a full-time key forward.
Yeah. I reckon Paddy would have dominated that game.
Yeah, causation fellatio for me too, Macca. I reckon Ryder would have had a good game this week.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I think main insinuation of that argument is. Fuck off, Rick. The main insinuation of that argument is that we can't play Ryder, or we can't fit Ryder and Westhoff in the same team, which I think is really untrue. They just need time to work it out and work out the proper structure. And we have to be playing good as well. You can't just say the last few weeks it hasn't worked because the whole team hasn't worked. You can't really just single out one thing.
There weren't many people complaining when we tore Hawthorn apart and all our key forwards kicked about 12 goals between them against the Crows. So
no, of course.
I think it's horses for courses, and unfortunately the last couple of weeks they haven't really delivered, but that doesn't mean that they won't ever deliver. And I reckon Paddy would have had a ripper game. Now on to some of Ant Bear's questions. The first one, when will Travis Boat be recognised as the best skipper in the league?
When Joel Selwood retires.
I was going to say when Luke Hodge retires.
Never.
When Scott Pendlebury retires. No.
He doesn't play for
I don't think we're ever going to have a best player in the league recognised across any... Yeah. No best defender, no best forward, no best midfielder. No Brownlows. Yep. It just doesn't seem to happen for us. We don't get the press.
No. It won't happen. And he'll have to leave and go to Hawthorn or whatever. But, and he's never going to do that. So we know he's the best captain in the league. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's it. Next question. Why was Matthew Broadbent dropped, then brought back in despite not playing a game?
Good question.
Well, I heard a rumour...
too many darts.
Somebody, too many darts. And he threw the excessive amount of darts that he injured his shoulder. So so Macca told me that one. Oh shit!
Thanks, Rick.
Inside source.
So who bloody knows? But it worked. Well, obviously, maybe it was that he was rested. That was the whole point. Rest him, have the break, then come back, and he was fine. So
took the Sunday off to sign the new contract and forgot that there was a game of footy on.
That's it. Whatever it was, it certainly worked because he was fantastic and best game he's played all year and one of the best games he's ever played, I thought.
Absolutely.
Next question: will Angus Monfries be remembered as an Essendon player or a Port player?
He's already a Port player in my mind.
Is this by us or the media or?
Well, yeah, I guess in the end it probably depends who you ask. I think people in Victoria will probably remember him as a Bombers man. If he wins a premiership, I think most people will then end up calling him a Port man. But
if he ever did an open mic, it would be all about Essendon. I mean, watch Gavin Wanganeen's one. I reckon they talked about Port Adelaide for about a minute.
That's it.
But I think we all consider Gavin Wanganeen a Port man. So
back to the game for a minor second, and it was his 200th game, and I thought he was one of the best on ground as well. He kicked 3 goals, had 3 assists. He's had a ripper year, I think, Angus Monfries, and he deserves more credit than what he gets.
Yep, got no time for the people who are slagging him off at the start of the year. He does such a good defensive job when he's not attacking, and you can see when he is played as just a pure forward. He kicks goals, he gets around the packs. He's a good lead-up option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's been fantastic this year, and he was very good. He was very good in the game.
And he's a good poker player too.
Yeah, very good poker player.
That'll be his life after footy, I reckon.
Good fisherman.
I don't know. I haven't taken him fishing, so I've got no idea.
Is Carl Amon going to continue our tradition of picking late draft gems?
Yeah, you'd think so. Who have we got? Westhoff, Robbie Gray. Well, that entire draft was just unbelievably good. Who else is there? Who else for our late picks? Cam O'Shea,
Bobby Carlisle,
52. Bobby
Cam
Carlisle.
O'Shea.
Not a tradition per se, but I think we do all right with the late picks. Yeah, I think he'll be
David Roden.
Fantastic. Yeah, does that count?
Tom Jonas.
Yeah, Jonas.
What do you reckon, Rick?
I reckon it's too early to tell, but he's heading in the right direction, and I did like it. I did like his game.
He's got the character, and he's got the skills, and he's got the composure at AFL level. You could say that.
Was he 2 games sub, and then he played a full game?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So this probably jades me a little bit because I don't get why he gets 2 games sub and then gets a full game, and then you've got our mate Arch who gets a couple of games sub and then gets relegated because he needs a full game. That's an issue.
Sort of player, though.
Yeah, well, that's an issue for me, but only because I thought Brendan deserved a full game as well. So, and it's all about opportunities, and Amon's had his opportunity and taken it, and Arch had his opportunity and didn't get the opportunity at the same time. So I hope he does become another draft gem, and time will tell in a couple of years. I mean, who would have forecasted that O'Shea would be in pretty average form at this point in time of the season last year?
Well,
True.
Who would have forecasted that he'd turn into a first 22 and a absolute gun player for a couple of years there? He's been a bit up and down. You can't really call these things.
It's a fair call as well. Next question: will Chad Wingard be as good as Robbie Gray?
Yeah. You can see when he's playing up the ground this year more, Wingard, and he's getting his 20 touches, 2 goals. He's got the consistent stat line, and he keeps doing the freakish stuff. Yeah, no doubt. I reckon he'll be as good as Robbie Gray. He could definitely be a shot for our first Brownlow if Robbie doesn't get there.
Do you think Chad Wingard's consistency counts against him a little bit?
Yeah.
How we expect him to do too much when he's already doing a lot? Is that what you mean?
No, I think more that I think he's in possible All-Australian form this year, but no one has really spoken about him at all in the media, and I don't think many people outside of Port people would realise that he is averaging close to 20 touches and 2 goals a game. And I think that sort of holds against him a little bit, where he doesn't have that sort of sporadic, huge 30 touch 4 goal game, for example. It's always very very bang on his average.
He needs to start winning games off his own boot, like showdowns and stuff.
I think so. I think he set the standard so high, especially in his second season, that I think everyone's just expected him to make this rapid improvement again. So his steady consistency, as you said, Mac, has been overlooked, and maybe they were expecting him to be a 30 possession a game player and kicking a couple of goals already. I don't know, but I think I love Chad. I think he's a fantastic player for Port, and I think he could even become a better player than Robbie Gray.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Next question, is Jarman Impey the long-term replacement for Kane Corns?
No, not really. Fancy him as more of a small forward lockdown defender, not a run with. Do we even need a replacement for Kane?
No, probably not at this stage.
We don't really have a like for like sort of.
I actually like the idea of maybe trialling Paul Stewart. If his tank's up to it, and this came up because of who's going to mark Bontempelli, but with the midfielders now becoming such tall midfielders, Fife is 190, Bontempelli's 192 or whatever, Paul Stewart's 191. If he's got the tank to run with them, and he does play that defensive forward role for us quite well also. I think Paul Stewart could be the guy that we need to, if we want to play a tagger, that could be the one.
Actually, Paul Stewart, on him. His biggest fan, Stewart to Austin, a.k.a. Stormageddon, a.k.a. SA Cross, a.k.a. who even knows anymore. He asked me to bring him up. So, do you guys think he'll stay in the team next week? Do you reckon he did enough?
I think so.
Not if Ryder's back.
Is there anyone to come back next week?
Ryder.
No,
so
I don't reckon he's going to be back this week. Reading the media, nah.
If we're bringing someone back who's bona fide 22, or if Andrew Moore comes in or something, would you drop him or Sam Gray?
Well, I think Sam Gray would have to go first.
Yeah.
I think
Sam Gray might have to go because of the rookie issue. So,
I'd take Packer over him.
Paul was pretty unlucky. He had one goal robbed from him. He kicked a goal, and I think he was completely spent in the last quarter. That he kicked that shot and goal out of bounds on the full. So, I mean, really, he probably could have had 3, potentially 4 goals, and then this even wouldn't be coming up. So. I think he also played a very defensive, forward-orientated game. So a bit like what you were saying about Angus Mumfrey, sometimes those games don't get recognised like they should.
Yeah. That's a good question from Porsche on Twitter. How old is Paul Stewart, Rick? Do you think he has it in him to learn a new role again? And take over for another 2 years before he retires or whatever?
Well, what is he? He's 27. He's contracted to the end of next year. I can't see why Paul couldn't play for 3 seasons potentially as a tagger, if that's what we wanted. As I said before, I would put a asterisk next to his tank and whether his tank is big enough to be able to do the role. That's all.
It wouldn't be. He's done forward tagging before and done pretty well at it, thinking back to 2012. But I probably wouldn't want him as a tagger, to be honest. I'd rather put the effort into Tom Cleary, who's younger and has the tank. We know he's got the tank to run out a full game in the midfield. So, I'd probably put more time into him. Right. If I was wanting to go for a taller option as a tagger.
Yeah. John Brayshaw said his best 5 were both Gray, Ebert, Homch and Mumfries. Again,
nice.
Pretty consistent. I think good choices, yep.
Yeah, there was a really solid sort of top 8 sort of guys. You could just pick from any of them.
That's it.
Are we doing the Who Am I this week, Macca?
We sure are. Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, again, like last week, we need someone to call in and then I'll ask the question. I'm being tricky.
Being very tricky, Rick.
Is there a recap of the previous clues?
Yeah, Macca writes them down. What are they, Macca?
Well, I haven't written them down, but thanks very much, Rick. Has played an AFL game for Port. Was on the list for 7 years. And was on the list before and or including 2005?
Yes.
I know who this is.
Well, you can't guess because you're actually one of the hosts. So if you have a shot or you want a shot, give us a call and we will do the Who Am I and see if you're right.
That's it.
And you can message me who you think, Dylan.
Cheer, cheer the black and the white. Honour the magpies day and by night. Live that loyal.
Whilst we are waiting, we might as well move on and talk about the SANFL. Obviously, Port played Glenelg at Alberton Oval on Sunday and came away with an 8-point victory, 13 goals 5 to 11 goals 9. Mitch Harvey and Jakey Nee kicked 3 goals each, whilst Aaron Young, Jesse Palmer and Johan Wagner kicked 2. We started on fire, 4 goals 3 to nothing at quarter time. We led by 43 points at half time. But then Glenelg slowly started to work their way back into the game, and they had a few chances pretty late to steal this one.
Yes, they did. It was very interesting. Why did we tire out, Macca?
I don't know. I'm not sure if we just sort of relaxed a little bit and thought we had the game won, and but it certainly wasn't a very good second half. That's for sure.
Yeah,
we did sort of struggle, and we struggled to get it out of the middle a little bit, and our skills went away, and we were starting to give away a few sort of stupid free kicks, and it was just one of those games in the end.
We had a few extra academy players through injury as well, I guess, didn't we?
Yeah, there was a few younger guys that played. Jonathan Ross, Beamans, Sawford. I think, that's about it.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe, and our midfield's a little bit light in the seniors at the moment. So, maybe that was part of the reason we ran out of steam. Obviously, I didn't get to the game, and it wasn't broadcasted. They had the thrilling Eagles-Sturt match on instead. So
wonderful.
So I did work around the house instead. But I noticed Jared Redden put in a massive performance, which I think is very heartening for all us supporters, that he is now starting to make some good progress.
Yeah, good signs. That was his best game for the year to date, no doubt.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he'll be in line to get another game this year? Or?
You can't really see him getting a game
I was pretty
ahead of Lobie or Ryder.
I didn't think he should have been selected when he was.
I can understand the reason behind it, but he
game.
just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
I didn't actually see it. I thought we'd continue with Butcher, because I thought he was alright in the first game. No worse than the other two guys, but we paid the price for it.
I think it was more that we wanted Ryder to play up forward, and then Redden could ruck, but I think they overestimated Redden's ability to run out an AFL game at this point.
What do you get, 3 touches, 3 hit-outs, something like that?
Yeah, it wasn't good. Wasn't good at all. But, he'll improve, and I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think next year we'll probably see a bit more of Jared Redden at AFL level, but you never know.
Was Mitch Harvey played up in the forward line this week?
He did, yep. He played predominantly up forward, and he was one of the stars. He was one of the absolute stars. I think he had 7 touches and kicked 3 goals. He's kicked multiple goals, I think, for about 4 or 5 weeks in a row now. So he's starting to put together some interesting form.
Yeah, 14 touches, 7 marks. That's a decent stat line. That's probably better than Butcher's done over the last year or so. Sorry, our squad show. Do you reckon he has the tank to run out an AFL game at all this year? Like maybe he wanted to give
probably not.
Schultz a rest. We could play him. So do you reckon he'd go worse or better than how Redden ran the game out?
No, probably just as bad.
Just as bad.
I don't know.
I reckon Macca's got more chance of running out a game too.
That's never going to happen. I'm not sure. I don't think he does. Maybe if we start him as sub, which would be pretty unusual to start a key forward as sub, but or maybe start him on the ground with the view of subbing him out at half time. I don't think he's got the repeat running in him to last at AFL level for a full game. Not this year anyway. Hopefully he can improve that in maybe next year. But interesting form, as I said. He's kicked multiple goals for a lot of weeks now, and this is what we want. This is what we need. Is another player sort of starting to push to put some pressure on the key forwards, I guess. Unfortunately, Mason Shaw had another quiet game and spent some time in the ruck, but it just wasn't his day. And hopefully he can start to put together some decent form as well.
Yep. Good work.
Yeah, I really hate that sort of lack of any balance that we have with our key forwards. It's all youth, and then it's straight up to 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it sort of sucks in a way that we've had such a good last few years because we haven't had the chance to sort of gift them games and develop them.
Yeah.
So
Well, we've had the opportunity, we just chose not to. I mean, Mason Shaw was in pretty good form last year, and we chose not to do it.
He wasn't ready.
And Cleary as
He
well.
might not have been ready, but you never know. A little taste of AFL might have done him the world of good, but
Could have given some experience to Cleary as well when we had no defence at all during the middle of last year.
that's it. Aaron Young played another ripper game. He was probably best on ground. He had 11 tackles, 22 touches. Was big around the bowl and kicked 2 goals as well. And he must be pushing for selection as well.
Yeah, it's just standard for Youngie. I think he's probably our 23rd, 24th sort of best player. If someone's injured in the midfield, he'll be the first guy to step up.
Yeah.
If not, Kane Mitchell.
Finbar was a big fan of Andrew Moore's game and thought that he's ready and should be the next cab off the rank.
Yeah, I've heard mixed reports about Andrew Moore's game. I mean, there was a lot of people that thought he was good. There was a lot of people that thought he was a little bit wasteful, didn't do all that much. But you look at his stats, I mean, 10 clearances, that's always fantastic. And he's got to be pretty close, and I'd love to see him back in the side just to see what he can do. And, for some reason I hold out hope for Andrew Moore that he's going to be this great sort of second-string midfielder at AFL level. But whether that happens or not, I'm not too sure. But you never know. Hopefully he can... hopefully he can get into the side sometime soon and see what he's got.
Absolutely. So no one's courageous enough to call in tonight, Macca.
Disappointing, Rick. Disappointing.
This is why I said they had to call in first.
Can I give an answer for someone? Stuart Dawson is Facebook messaging me and he says he doesn't have Skype because he's just completely hopeless. He's got an answer. Can I give that for him?
No.
He has to call in.
Yes.
He has to call
Tough
in.
luck.
That is it. You have to call. No tweets, no Facebook comments. They'll all be ignored and deleted. And you'll be banished forever. It has to be a call because we want people to call in.
That's it. Portia's tweeted in about Mitch Harvey, and she's all for giving Harvey a game as a bit of a motivator, if nothing else. If he kills it in the SANFL, he will learn that speed of the game. And look, we've got a call. We have a call.
Hey, cool.
Alex Hale.
Alex.
Hello, how you going?
Good,
The
good.
man.
Thanks for calling in.
No
All
worries.
right.
Thought I'd have a stab in the dart.
I'll give you one more clue.
Yep.
You could have thought that he would have been primarily a midfielder. So his height was under 185 centimetres.
Right. Let me think here. How about Roger James?
Roger the Dodger, did he retire that early?
Yeah, I think so.
No,
No.
it isn't. But Macca better add him to the list. No Roger James.
No Roger James. Oh, well.
Yeah, he was on the
Sorry,
list
mate.
for 9 years.
Was it?
Yeah.
There you go. And just very quickly
Bad luck.
before Macca hangs up on you, who were your top three for the game?
My top three would have been Gray, Homps and Boak.
Yeah,
With
nice.
a special mention to Mumfries. I think he played pretty well, especially at the start of the game.
Yeah.
Good work.
Good call. Thanks for calling in, Alex.
No
Cheers,
worries.
mate.
Good work.
Thanks for listening.
Try again.
Yep, will do. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
I'm still waiting for Mr. Speaker to send us a selfie with the gear that he got too.
What do you got?
I'm putting a shout out to Mr. Speaker. I want to see where my money went. So come on, cough up a picture.
Well, should we call it a night?
We should. I'm excited for this week's game.
Me too.
It's now
do you
become
reckon, Dylan?
huge.
What's up?
Are we going to win this week?
Yep. We win every week, if you ask me. Who have we got? Western Bulldogs. Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully they have a blip. They've been a bit up and down. They've got massive upside. Like when you see how good they can play, but yeah. I hope we do what Hawthorn did to them in Tasmania. Just really roll over them. And after this week's sort of form, I think we can. I think we can really get up over them. Maybe 7-goal win to us.
Nice. I like
Good
it.
work.
Good stuff.
All right, boys. Have a great night.
Until next
Thanks
time.
for everyone listening in.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for having me, boys.
Awesome.
Kind of bit.
Power!